At the beginning of the assigned reading, Socrates says two things about the good. First, he says that this is the most important thing for us to know. And this is because we cannot live a good life, and we cannot live in a good city until we know what the good is. A good ruler cannot be good unless he or she knows what the good is. Second, Socrates says that there are lots of disagreements about the good. Adeimantus asks Socrates what he believes the good to be, and Socrates reminds him that beliefs aren't worth much of anything. What we should seek is knowledge, and knowledge of the good is the most difficult to achieve. Socrates says he himself isn't up to it, so he'll try and explain what he calls the offspring of the good. And by this he means he's going to try and explain the good by way of an image, the image of the sun. So I want now to turn to a few crucial lines in which Socrates explains this image. Look now at the highlighted bit here. Socrates here reminds us of the forms. He says the following: "We say that there are many beautiful, many good, and many other such things, thereby distinguishing them in words." End quote. So what's Socrates talking about here? This sort of comes out of the blue. Well, he's reminding us that there are many things we call good. A good horse, for example, or a good person. And all these things, he continues, are different from the good itself. We can talk about the goodness of the horse or the goodness of the person. And when we say this, we're referring to the form good, in which particular horses and people may participate. As Socrates says, quote, "In the case of all the things, that is, all the good things, that we then posited as many, we reverse ourselves and posit a single form, namely the good, belonging to each." End quote. Glaucon here concedes this, and the theory of forms that's being put forth here should not be new to us. We saw it last week. So now Socrates says, quote, "And we say that one class of things is visible but not intelligible, while the forms are intelligible but not visible." End quote. Okay, why would Socrates say this? Why would the individual horses and people be visible but not intelligible, while the forms horse and human would be intelligible but not visible? The answer is that what allows us to see individual horses is our sight, whereas what allows us to understand those horses, as each being horse-like, is because our minds can grasp the form horse. Okay, so now we recognize two worlds. There's the sensible world of things, and the intelligible world that allows us to understand things in the world as being of a certain kind, as being, for example, a horse or a human. Now Socrates makes the following point on the next page. In both worlds, the sensible and the intelligible, we still need to identify what causes us to be able to see things or understand forms. Even if we have sight, for example, we might not be able to see the car or the horse. It could be dark, after all. So then Socrates says, "Surely sight may be present in the eyes, and its possessor may try to use it, and colors may be present in things. But unless a third kind of thing is present, you know that sight will see nothing, and the colors will remain unseen." End quote. And that third thing in the sensible world is the sun, as he says later down on the page. Without the sun to produce light, our eyes cannot see things, even if we have sight and the things have color. Okay, now, what causes us to be able to know the forms in the intelligible world? Is there not some third thing just like the sun? There is indeed, Socrates points out on the next page. He says, and I quote, "Let's say then that this is what I called the offspring of the good, which the good begot as its analog. What the latter is, that is, the good, what the latter is in the intelligible realm in relation to understanding and intelligible things, the former, that is, the sun, is in the visible realm in relation to sight and visible things." Now let's turn to the next page. Socrates here adds one more important feature about the sun, and so too the good. The sun, he says, not only gives visible things the power to be seen, but also provides for their coming to be, growth, and nourishment, although it itself is not coming to be. Now the good in the world of forms works just like the sun. So Socrates then says, quote, "You should also say that not only do the objects of knowledge owe their being known to the good, but their existence and being are also due to it. Although the good is not being, but something yet beyond being, superior to it in rank and power. The good causes all forms to exist and allows us to understand them." Okay, that wraps up the image of the sun. Now we can go on to discussing the image of the divided line.